Hello and welcome to Fantasy R&R. I am your host Ryan, and this is your Wednesday wake-up show. Today I'm going to be talking about the Eagles QB situation, Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. There's been a lot of speculation and controversy surrounding this, whether or not Carson Wentz is to blame for a lot of the Eagles' problems, or if Carson Wentz is playing bad because of the inconsistencies in the rest of his team. We know they've been decimated by injury. Carson Wentz has been missing a lot of pieces, and when it all comes down to it, if he doesn't have those pieces, you can't expect him to play great. But on the flip side, we have seen him turn over the ball a number of times, and maybe it's time to start wondering what the Eagles do going forward. So starting from the top, let's just recap a couple of the big players on offense that are missing for Carson Wentz. Obviously, Alshon Jeffrey's not really been a thing this year. Dallas Goedert was out for a while, put on IR, had the fracture. And we're finally getting rookie Jalen Reagor back into the lineup. Up until then, Travis Fulgham was the one guy they were going to. Even Zach Ertz was out, and he was actually playing bad before a lot of this happened. Missing blocks, drops, doesn't look very explosive or fast on the field. So the Eagles have a ton of problems. In their backfield, Miles Sanders is out. Boston Scott has kind of been in and out as a useful tool while that's going on. But obviously Miles Sanders has been a big weapon for them when he's on the field, and that hurts a lot as well. Wentz is getting sacked a number of times, and you got to wonder, is this situation mostly due to the problems at offensive line? What we're seeing in the offensive line position is a lot of decimating injuries as well. Obviously, Jason Peters had a toe injury. Lane Johnson had a knee injury. And the guy backing them up and filling in both tackle positions, this Jordan Mailata, he's been filling in rather nicely, but he's still not the top of their depth chart there. And Isaac Samalo is going to be returning soon, and hopefully fill some of these holes that they've got at that position. But if they're not going to be able to push the defensive line physically, then Wentz is going to have a hard time making decisions fast enough that are going to result in a big play when you don't have any of your big play weapons out on the field. I'm suspecting that once they're back at full health, we're going to see a little bit of an uptick in Carson Wentz production, and here's why. When you look at week one, Carson Wentz struggled with his turnovers, couple interceptions, fumble, but he did throw for almost 300 yards and had 2 TDs. Next game, he was without a passing TD, but did have a rushing TD against the Rams. The Eagles' offense looked absolutely terrible there. Since then, week 3 going through week 8, Wentz hasn't actually posted under 15 fantasy points a week. Cincinnati, yeah, he had a couple of turnovers there, but he got a couple of touchdowns. And this is kind of what we get from Wentz from a fantasy perspective, is whether or not the Eagles are losing or winning in that division, Wentz is still going to put up some amount of fantasy points, results in a positive aspect for your team. He's only thrown under 200 yards twice, and those 2 games that he's threw under 200 yards, he did have a couple of touchdowns to make up for it. Even this last game against Dallas, where he looked absolutely abysmal against one of the worst defenses and teams in the league, he still managed to get 2 touchdowns through the air late in the game. Of course, you're talking about 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions. You take those away, in my league, that's 8 points. You're looking at another 18-point game from Wentz, and he's producing. Week before that, Giants. Week before that, Ravens. 25 points, 29 points. So he's been looking better. I mean, against the Giants, he threw 359 yards. I say just give him some time. Let them get healthy on this bye week. And going forward, they're going to play the New York Giants again. And I think you could expect good things out of Wentz from a fantasy perspective. Doesn't really matter, like I said, if they win the division or not. That's the worst division in football by far, the NFC East. And it makes you wonder, do they just keep rolling with Wentz, or do they maybe have to turn to a Jalen Hurts at some point? Philadelphia Eagles are 3-4, Washington football teams 2-6, Dallas Cowboys 2-7, New York Giants 2-7. Now, obviously, when the Eagles play the Giants, Someone's got to win that game. If it is the Giants, they go 3-7, and the Eagles go 3-5-1. You may see a team under 500 getting the playoff nod in the NFC East, especially with the expanded playoff teams to 14 this year. That's going to be crazy. I mean, it's not crazy to think that going forward from here, even if the Giants beat the Eagles, do Washington, Dallas, or New York even break 5 wins? And if they just keep losing to every other team they're playing, the Eagles may actually wind up going something like 5-10-1 and take the division. That would be absolutely insane if they go like 5-10 and go to the playoffs. So for this season, there's no real rush because the rest of the division is just so bad. But if they do make the playoffs, it doesn't seem like they're going to have enough of a pop on offense or defense to get very deep. Now, Doug Peterson has said that Wentz is keeping the job, and they're going to try and pepper in Jalen Hurts at all positions, running back, wide receiver, tight end, everything. The guy can do it all. But when Peterson's been asked if he's going to consider benching Wentz, he doesn't really give us a clear answer, but he seems exasperated with Wentz's performance and mistakes. He's noted how the turnovers are unacceptable, and that's putting the defense on a short field, and this is what's kind of racking up the points against the Eagles so much and why they're behind in all these games. Wentz is managing to have some fourth quarter pops, and we're seeing those flashes of clutch play that we're used to from guys like, say, Patrick Mahomes, where they're going to come back and make it a ball game, and it seems like Wentz is able to do that even without his weapons. So once this bye week's over, I think those questions are going to start to be put to rest. But if it goes south, we may be looking at this kid, Jalen Hurts. Now, a lot of you know him. He played at Oklahoma and Alabama. One of the more notorious situations there was what happened with between him and Tua for the starting position. He's got a real storied college career, though. I mean, Texas A&M was trying to recruit Hurts after Kyler Murray left, and Hurts committed to the University of Alabama. That college obviously was pretty famous in the last couple of years for Tua Tagovailoa. What happened there is after a couple of good seasons, Hurts was actually replaced by Tua. A 13-1 season with the Crimson Tide, giving them a playoff spot as a number 4 seed. They played Clemson in the Sugar Bowl, and Hurts was the offensive MVP in that game. But what happened was Hurts was benched at halftime of the 2018 College Football Playoff National Championship for Tua, and winds up losing his job to Tua after Tua helps the Tide come back to a comeback victory in that year. Questions arose if Hurts was going to remain the starting quarterback, and in the season opener against Louisville, Tagovailoa was the starter, and this is Hurts' junior season. So Hurts is feeling slighted by this, and he decides he's going to transfer to the University of Oklahoma for his final year of eligibility. And for his senior season, 2019, for Oklahoma, he plays 14 games, starts them all, 32 TDs, 8 interceptions, 1,298 yards on the ground, 20 TDs rushing. I mean, he's a dual threat, and he's obviously got the legs over Carson Wentz, and he's got an arm that can lead a team to some big 300, 400-yard a game victories. What we want to see from Jalen Hurts is a little bit more with these gimmick plays they're going with. Whenever they try to swing him out or put him on these slot routes, it seems like they're not really getting any big gains from him. The defense seems to be aware of what Hurts is out there for, and I think it's a mistake to kind of use him like a Cordell Stewart from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hurts probably needs to be mentored and conditioned to be a quarterback in the fashion that Wentz was leading that offense a couple years ago when he was making an MVP run. What I'd like to see more of is Jalen Hurts being used kind of like Taysom Hill, where if he's gonna do these running plays, maybe like do what Lamar Jackson did his first season. If he's gonna be in there running, put him under center. You don't need to swing this guy out to the slot. This isn't what you drafted him for, and if it was, I don't think they should have taken him so high. I'd be excited to see Jalen Hurts take over, but I don't think Wentz necessarily deserves to lose his job right now. With that being said, Wentz has 16 of the Eagles' 17 turnovers, and he's leading the NFL in turnovers. Some of the sacks are really bad, too. It's not like he's got no fault in them. He's not really getting rid of the ball like he should when he feels that insane pressure coming, and Hurts might be a little bit better at that because he's more mobile. When it's all said and done, Wentz on the season is throwing for under 60% completion rating, 1,883 passing yards, a lot of that in garbage time, 12 TDs, 12 interceptions. He's been sacked 32 times. And if those are the kind of statistics that Doug Peterson thinks can turn around if he puts Jalen Hurts in that spot, and he's serious about making the team a playoff contender if they're going to win this division, it's possible we see them turn to Jalen Hurts almost in the same way that, listen, Miami was winning, but they clearly saw that Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't going to be their path ahead to great things or a Super Bowl run. They just kind of let Tua come in slow, stayed real calm, let him make his mistakes, let him get some confidence, and now we're seeing good plays from Tua, and the Dolphins seem happy about their direction going forward as an offense. And the Dolphins could make a run for the playoffs as well. So in that same respect, maybe we see this switch up for the Eagles halfway through the season where they said, we've seen enough with Wentz. Let's move on to Jalen Hurts and see if he can give us a chance to win a game going forward. Because even if they lose, there's a chance that all these other teams in that division, Washington, Dallas, New York, are going to continue to lose. And the Eagles may take the division anyway. So if you lose one game with Jalen Hurts starting, it's not the end of the world. Again, this is all speculative, and it's mostly because of all these guys getting healthy on the Eagles and starting to come back that I think Wentz is going to stay in there. I would be excited to see Jalen Hurts get peppered in, at least at the quarterback position more every once in a while. Let Wentz take the play off. Let the defense get confused. What's Hurts going to do? Is he going to drop back, pocket pass? Is he going to swing out? Is it a design run play? That could be really good for the Eagles' offense going forward. With what's going on in this next coming game against the Giants, I am taking the Eagles to win this. Daniel Jones is not looking any better than Wentz. He's turning over the ball a lot, and if Wentz starts this game and completes it, there's a real possibility that you see 20 points from Carson Wentz. I'm really excited for these tough divisional matchups all the time because you get to see how the narrative plays out for that division. And with that being said, let's go over to the Philadelphia-New York Giants game. It's going to be 1 o'clock Eastern Time this Sunday, the 15th. We've got Carson Wentz, 1,183 yards passing, 12 TDs, 12 interceptions against Daniel Jones, 1,878 yards passing, 8 TDs, 9 interceptions. Both guys fumbling the ball. It's gonna be really dependent on the wide receivers that are available. I think one of the big notable players that could come back is this Week 9 bye for Miles Sanders. He may be coming back for the Week 10 clash with the Giants. If he's healthy, good matchup. I think the Giants are allowing 8th most fantasy points per game to running backs. You're going to want to start him. Devontae Freeman, I also believe, is coming back, but he is questionable. He returned to practice, but I don't think he was in pads. So, just keep an eye out on him. There's not a whole lot going on the Giants' offensive side of the ball, especially the backfield. I'd probably stick with Wayne Gallman, who's scored 3 TDs in each of the last 3 weeks, and just roll with him over Devontae Freeman. Obviously, everybody knows Saquon Barkley is out with the ACL. He'll be back next year. But one of the big questions, obviously, Alshon Jeffrey, he's probably a fantasy afterthought, but for the Eagles and anybody who's held on to Jeffrey because of his talent over the last few years, you probably want to know what's going on. It has been a calf injury for him, and he has not even played at all this 2020. Even with Week 9 bye, I don't think Jeffrey's been trending in the right direction. So he's listed as questionable, but I am leaning towards not seeing him out on the field. You're going to have your Travis Fulghams, your Jalen Riegers, and maybe Wentz has a good game with them, especially against a bad New York Giants defense. Now on New York Giants side of the ball, Golden Tate had that suspension for the social media comments. I don't like what he's doing this season anyway. So just kind of temper your expectations on, and he's even one of those guys you could drop to make space for someone else on your roster. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram are all going to be available to play. Of course, with the struggles of Daniel Jones, they're not seeing a huge amount of production. They're still dangerous receivers. Evan Ingram's a very talented guy, has made a few drops this year. I'd stay away from all of them for fantasy purposes. In these divisional matchups, they're pretty tough, but if you had to pick any of the guys in this game, I'd be leaning more towards the Eagles players, even with Wentz's struggles. And that concludes the Wednesday Wake Up Show. I'll see you next time for our regularly scheduled Fantasy R&R episode of Sunday Fun Day with Rob.
That was Fantasy with Rob and Ryan.